I think need a little bit of a miracle.
I cannot swim so good.
And the team that will be eliminated from the Ultimate Forces Challenge.
Come on, guys, come on! Hold it, hold it, hold it!
The Photonis Ultimate Forces Challenge, an annual extreme endurance competition for athletes from across the globe. On the Indonesian island of Bali, 42 elite athletes push the limits of teamwork, tactics, and pure physical strength to prove who's the fittest of them all.
Last time we saw our 4 remaining teams compete against each other in an intense water obstacle race.
With 4 teams competing for 3 spots in the final. In the previous challenge, the athletes pushed themselves to their limits as they made their way across a number of, how shall we say, creative obstacles.
Out of all the events, that was my favourite. That was number 1.
It was a race where each team's strength and agility were put to the test.
5 minutes will get you.
Some teams stepped up to the challenge and exceeded expectations, while others crumbled under the pressure.
It doesn't matter, Aga.
At the end of the day, South Africa had set a new UFC time record, while retaining hold on the top spot. Canada surprised many by gaining ground on 3rd place Australia. Belgium is a strong second in the overall standings. Today they face what is arguably the competition's most difficult challenge to date. Only the top 3 teams will compete in the Photonis Ultimate Forces Challenge final.
We know where we are in the standings. I think need a little bit of a miracle.
It is elimination day today, so one team has to go, and we are not ready to go, so we wanted to go to the finals.
You never know what happens. I know in the last few competitions, penalties have played a pretty big role as far as switching rankings, so maybe some more penalties might play a big role.
This challenge is an elimination game, which means the team finishing 4th in the overall standings after this game will be going home.
Everybody's a little bit nervous today. It's a scramble. The points are really close, but it's a fight for 4th, 3rd and 2nd.
I don't think we're anywhere near elimination. So we're even thinking of sitting this one out, you know, giving our team a rest. But we won't do that. We won't do that. We'll compete and we'll do everything every day.
In today's challenge, our teams are in for the ride of a lifetime, here at this stunning Balinese waterfall.
Today's extreme challenge involves a 3-kilometre jungle survival course. 2 athletes from each team will be required to run up, swim through and abseil down Bali's most spectacular waterfall. And of course they will have to do this with a few old friends for company.
Small course, through the water, and there you have to go down. You abseil down just beside the waterfall.
And the abseiling off a 35-metre cliff into water is a warm-up for the strenuous run.
Then we had to run up the stairs all the way, oh man, must have been 150 stairs to the top of the waterfall again.
For the last 300 metres of the race, the athlete will have to lug 2 sandbags against the current and over the finish line, neck deep in the rapids. At least the Balinese heat won't be a problem.
It's quite heavy current, so it will be heavy. You have to do it with 2, and there are 2 sandbags, so work together, work together. That's the thing.
On paper, the battle is between Canada and Australia for 3rd spot and a place in the final. But even with so much at stake, the Canadians remain in good spirits.
When we saw the challenge, we all thought this was going to be the most fun challenge yet, and we all wanted to do it. So we drew straws. We grabbed 3 straws and 1 girl picked and then 1 guy picked because we thought that was the most fair way. We knew we were all capable of getting it done, and that was the way we decided to do it.
Using an age-old scientific method of fate, it was decided that Matt and Carson would be responsible for keeping Team Canada in the game. To avoid elimination, they'll need both individual perseverance and then tactics to beat the only team standing in the way for a spot in the final, Team Australia.
We knew we had to make a strong appearance in that event, and we definitely knew we needed a top time.
It's a pretty cool challenge, so see what happens.
And they're off. The first hurdle is simply getting out of the water.
Good job, Cars. Good job, Cars. Good job, guys.
After quickly traversing the 200 metres downstream, they come face to face with a real ultimate forces challenge. A 35-metre abseil down the side of a waterfall.
If you open, you descend. If you close to your body, you brake. With the right hand, you control the verticality.
Safety is an absolute priority in the UFC, and the clock stops as a professional instructor walks them through the rules of abseiling again. The athletes will drop one by one. Only when the first athlete switches ropes at the halfway point may the second athlete begin. Once at the bottom, the teams will either wait for each other or tackle the steep stairs solo.
It was about trying new things and pushing yourself, challenging yourself, doing things I'd never done before, seeing what you're capable of.
Matt's the first to go. It's his first time abseiling, ever. Following the UFC's strict safety measures, Matt switches ropes halfway down the cliff. During this transition, the clock is stopped. As it turns out, Matt is a natural abseiler. He keeps his balance throughout and steers clear of the waterfall to his left. Get too close to the falls and you're in for a soggy and very painful treat. Matt decides to wait for his teammate before embarking on the next leg of the challenge, which is a 2-kilometre run back to the top of the waterfall.
So we both said, do a steady pace up the stairs, don't run, do a brisk walk or whatever.
The trail includes ascending a ridiculous number of stairs that wind all the way back up the hill. Once there, the real fun begins. Without a doubt, the hardest part of today's challenge.
And then we got into the creek and had to pick up 2 heavy sandbags and carry the sandbags upstream while remaining in the water the whole time.
Looks easy. Yeah, right.
Where it's won or lost is coming upstream with the sandbags. It definitely didn't make it easy.
Super hard challenge. Hardest one so far. The strength of that current made it impossible to move forward faster than a couple inches at a time.
The finish line is only 300 metres upstream, but for all these well-trained athletes, it's likely to be the hardest 300 metres of their lives, even with their teammates egging them on and offering all the advice they can give.
Okay, now rest. If it's sitting on the rock, just rest. Carson's behind you.
Matt and Carson have to conquer the river's current all on their own.
Team Canada are in the water at the minute and they are fighting for survival. They are working incredibly well as a team. They are flying through one of the hardest parts of the course. Will this be enough? God only knows. We'll soon find out.
Matt and Carson must carry the sandbags all the way upstream and drop them no less than 10 metres from the finish line.
We have to win it, but when you're in there, you're not even thinking. Right now, we just want to do it together and complete it.
But in their fatigued state, those last metres seem to take forever. And finally, they've reached their finish line. With every ounce of energy Matt has left, he dives across the finish line. But now they have to wait and see how the other teams fare. Was their time good enough to avoid elimination?
I kind of lost all sense of time during that. But yeah, I definitely thought we had a pretty strong time when we finished.
If it will be enough all depends on the Aussies later. Next up, we have South Africa. The South Africans have appointed Dina and Victor to represent their team. Seeing he's been out of action for a few days, choosing Victor is a massive gamble.
Victor's strong, Dina's strong. I'm not worried, but I think we'll do well.
Normal people usually need a few days of rest and recovery from food poisoning, but Victor isn't exactly normal. In fact, challenges demanding both endurance and speed are precisely Victor's cup of tea.
It was very physically demanding. It was emotionally demanding, and that made it interesting because we had to dig deep and dig hard.
Victor shows little signs of a food poisoning hangover. As eager as ever, he's the first to abseil down the waterfall.
If we could have drawn straws, or if we could have battled it out for the strongest, I think myself and Terence were definitely the most hungry to do it. But you had to take one male, one female. And, you know, a clinical decision coming down who's the strongest and who was the freshest.
With Victor at the bottom, Dina can now start her descent. It goes well at first, but oh, that's gotta hurt.
Dina had quite a hard smash against the rock face while abseiling. She's incredibly strong, she's strong-minded, she's determined. She carried herself, she picked herself back up and she continued, and she did a sterling job at the end.
Dina's fall does cost them precious time, but with both athletes now at the bottom of the canyon, the South Africans can now move on to the second leg of the race. And fortunately for the team, Dina seems to be in great shape.
She's a powerhouse of note, so she won't back down.
If she fell into the rock, I feel sorry for the rock.
Dina and Victor tackle the stairs like true professionals, quickly making their way back to the top of the waterfall.
As we entered into this challenge, Victor was taken a little by surprise, underestimating the current flow and the depth of the water. Hence, losing the sandbag and putting immense pressure on him to challenge himself with the time and get the best time, but at the same time now he had to start diving and searching for the sandbag.
Come on, I know it's hard, you're right here.
Victor is finally able to fish out the sandbag from the bottom of the river, but not without losing valuable time for South Africa. Things, however, are about to get a whole lot worse. Less than a minute after recovering the sandbag, Victor inexplicably drops it again.
There's dead water, that's it. Follow the dead water.
With Dina's help, they again recover the sandbag. Besides lost time, Team South Africa's game of hide and seek cost the athlete, more importantly, energy they desperately need to battle the current upstream.
Killing it, killing it. How do you guys? Come, keep it going, keep it going.
I was caught out most by this obstacle. My strength is, just as much as I'm a strong runner, I have a very good body-to-weight ratio, whole new ball game.
Their struggle hasn't gone unnoticed. All the other teams are standing along the track, watching and observing how Victor and Dina fare.
Come, guys!
Just a few more meters to the finish line. And they're done. As usual, South Africa finished strong, but Dina's abseiling misstep and Victor's slippery hands cost the team much time. But with their place in the final already secured, they can afford a poor showing today.
Oh, that's power!
Next up, Team Belgium. The Belgians have chosen Bart and Eva to defend their second place standing. And while Eva is the logical choice for a challenge like this, she isn't as eager to compete as you'd expect.
I don't like water challenges because I cannot swim so good. I was the chosen one, so I have to do it.
Bart, on the other hand, has all the right credentials to excel in this event.
I will do this because I'm quite good with ropes. I'm a fireman, so I'm also in a rescue team in our department, so I do it often, almost every week.
And it shows. No one before have reached the halfway stage quicker, with 2 great leaps, which is the start sign for Eva. Not quite at Bart's pace. For Bart, hanging over a cliff is like a walk in the park. He does his best to motivate Eva, but how do you motivate someone beyond fear?
Eva, but we talked to her a little bit in the beginning and we said to Eva, just jumping on and go down.
After a few moments of hesitation, Eva finally begins her descent, slowly but surely. Halfway there, obviously Bart's already at the bottom. The second part starts well for Eva, but then things start to get slippery.
My elbow hit the ball, and yeah, I wasn't happy about that.
Unfazed, Eva gives in to the call of gravity and drops into the water below. One of the most reliable runners in the competition, she is more than comfortable with 2 feet on the ground. Knowing this, Bart decides to get a head start and begin the difficult climb.
She's a good runner. You have to run upstairs, so it's running up. And then through the water, she's skinny. Maybe she has not a lot of influence of the current on her body, so that's our tactic. And I'm strong, so I can hold Eve if necessary, so we will see.
Eva begins her ascent on the stairs, all the way back to the river where Bart is waiting for her. The team make excellent time on the stairs compared to Team Canada and the South Africans. Their reward, however, is a date with by far the most difficult leg of today's challenge.
You can have a tactic with it. It's go in and you will see, can you hold there, or stand there, or stand there.
After a few meters, it becomes clear that the team have made a tactical error. Instead of making her more streamlined as they'd hoped, Eva's petite body is easy prey for the rough current.
And then at a certain point, we lost one sandbag in the middle of the stream. And we knew you get a penalty if you lose a sandbag or from not carrying a sandbag over the finish.
Knowing that a penalty at this stage could result in an aeroplane ride home, Eva frantically dives for the sandbag, but fails.
Only thing I thought was you have to take the sandbag over the finish line. Eva on the rocks with her leg, I hold her leg, and then I went under. And
This unorthodox approach from Bart to recover the sandbag remarkably works. Bart's valiant effort earns the respect of the onlooking athletes, but the struggle is hardly over. Really, as a team, Bart and Eva take on the last few meters of this excruciating race.
it was a stupid thing. We lost the sandbag and then we lost a lot of time there.
Fair enough, but anything is better than the 3-minute penalty they could have had by not fishing the sandbag out of the water.
In a hell pot. Really?
With the Belgians safe on dry land, all eyes turn to the Australians. If they can post a quicker time than Team Canada, they'll secure a place for themselves in the final.
It is possible that we could get knocked out. Anything could happen.
Like underestimating the current, for instance. Like every team, the Aussies are struggling with the first few metres.
We wasted time there just getting me out of the water.
They do recover from the sluggish start relatively quickly and make their way over to the rocky terrain onto the waterfall.
And as we've come over a rise, you can hear the roar of the water getting louder.
Wayne decides to go first. Both athletes know that they hold the fate of Team Australia in their hands.
Wayne's already gone ahead, so his big long legs, he was off and he'd already been clipped up and was gone. I couldn't see him, and I've come to the edge of the cliff and all I can see is how far down it is across the other side of the river and this waterfall following. I hate heights and I'm just... So just focus, clip myself up, follow the instructions, step back, let her go.
As easy as that.
It was incredible, with beautiful waterfalls splashing down beside me and just big adrenaline rush. Like, it was amazing. Who would ever get that opportunity? I've been really, really lucky.
And besides that, up to now, Wayne and Victoria are doing a great job with a steady pace. At least for now.
The stair run wasn't as fun as I thought, but it was very, very pretty.
Instead of waiting for Victoria, Wayne's strategy is to run ahead. Once atop the stairs, he's going to move the sandbags past the initial set of rapids to make the going easier for Victoria.
Wayne was amazing. He negotiated our course up the channel.
But in the back of his mind, that's a lot at stake.
This is, of course, an elimination game, which means everything is riding on this. The guys are giving it their all, and this is going to be right down to the wire.
We got our bags eventually to the front and straight back and under the finish line.
That's it. Good work, Victor, and the go. Good work, Wino.
But like we've seen so many times before, those last few metres are the most painful. Everyone has the feeling Wayne and Victoria made a great time, but is it fast enough to beat the Canadians? The moment of truth. Who will remain in the Photonis Ultimate Forces Challenge? And who will be going home?
The number 3 in team of South Africa.
South Africa's third place finish only adds to the tension. It can go either way. It's the final verdict.
At number 1, team of Australia.
Fantastic for us, Team Australia first, and that actually bumped us up to overall second ranking, which was really, really exciting. But yeah, of course, then that also meant that somebody had to go.
And that somebody has a name.
Canada.
It's a bittersweet ending for the Canadians, who throughout the competition showed both perseverance and charisma.
Bittersweet because we knew we did well in that last challenge, but then just not quite enough. So, I mean, we had the high of finishing one of the most difficult challenges and finishing strong, but then the disappointment of not being able to continue on.
And of course, one team's misery is another team's glory. In this case, Team Australia, alongside Team South Africa and Belgium, are heading to the finals.
Team Canada must leave the competition immediately, which means the 3 remaining teams will progress to the next stage.
It was actually kind of nice knowing that we put everything out there. I couldn't have gone any faster. I did everything that I could to win this competition. So losing in that fashion to better people is the way to do it. So we went out on a high.
It's sad, but it's competition, so we're coming closer and closer to the final, so we have to skip teams. And we are still in. Great feeling, great feeling.
To say of all the challenges, this was the one we've done the worst in.
3, 2, 1, go!
You can just go and go, go, go.
That's good fun, though, eh? That's good fun.
I'd rather be vertical.